It is one thing for someone to stand up for the First Amendment and put his own you-know-what on the line. But here, those insisting they were defending the First Amendment were knowingly putting others' lives on the line. The police. Everyone knew this event would unglue some who might become violent. And the police had no choice but to do their jobs and be there to protect against violence. Police are like that. They do their jobs. But was it fair to the police to knowingly put them at risk by this unnecessary provocation? I say no. We're lucky no police officer lost his or her life.
I've never heard anything like that coming from an attorney, especially. All right, joining us on the Malzberg panel, Jane Velez-Mitchell is here, founder of JaneUnchained.com and author of Exposed, The Secret Life of Jodi Arias. And Noelle Nikpour is here, Republican strategist, political consultant, author of Branding America. All right, Jane, let me start with you. I can't believe what I'm hearing from Greta. We had Mike Huckabee on, who blasted both Bill O'Reilly and Greta for their stance on the Garland situation. It was unfair to the police to put them in a situation where there may be danger. So would she say no more protests in the streets for anybody because it might turn violent? I never heard of such an analysis.
Well, I have to agree with her, frankly. With all due respect, my dad used to say freedom of speech is not shouting fire in a crowded movie theater. And that's exactly what happened here. It was a provocation, and you're provoking stupid, mentally and emotionally deranged people. You know, when we hear about these terrorists, and we have built them up to be these strong people who basically they're a bunch of people who are losers looking for attention, who wear black outfits a lot of the time.
These people were pillars of their communities. They had jobs, they had children, they had families. They were hardly the description you gave. And Noelle, I got to say, if the new mandate or dictate from the terrorist groups is if Fox, CNN, and MSNBC doesn't fire every female employee on the air, all those buildings will be at risk. Is Greta going to not show up for work because she doesn't want to have cops outside that might be in danger?
Well, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. I mean, you don't want to interfere with anyone's freedom of speech. So I think a lot of times people are stretching it to the limit. I think that, you know, this did provoke terrorists, and I think that you would be crazy to think that this wouldn't attract a terrorist. If you're drawing a cartoon figure of Mohammed and asking people to contribute to this, of course it's going to cause a stir. So what do? Do you stifle it? Or do you do it, and do you act like someone that maybe wants to bring it out and catch them when they come out? I don't know. It's almost like a mouse trap with cheese.
I mean, Jane, so where do you draw the line? I mean, today it's cartoons of Muhammad. We know how the radical Islamists feel about women and Christians and Jews and gays. So what if they started making mandates, as I said, and insisting that no more gays, no more women, no more... I mean, would you say, oh, that's ridiculous? Or would you... it's the same as what's going on here.
I'm not suggesting that anybody cower or buckle under to some irrational mandate. What I am saying is going out of your way to have a cartoon drawing contest that you know could attract mentally deranged people with weapons is putting other people at risk. And so a lot of innocent people could have died. Thankfully, it was the bad guys who got caught this time and who were mowed down this time. But next time you could have another Paris on your hands.
Right, Noelle?
Well, you know, like I said earlier, a mouse with a cheese. If you wanted to be proactive, what you could do
cheese,
is,
by the way,
if you cheddar, Steve, cheddar.
Okay.
You could actually set these up and say in every city there's going to be a cartoon drawing contest of Muhammad, and just go ahead and fire them out there and have a firing squad ready for them if you wanted to, I guess.
All right, we're going to come back and we're going to turn our attention to the Clintons on part 2 of the panel. Don't go away.
She didn't even have the autopsy report until the morning of she was announcing the charges. In other words, her mind was already made up. Ditto with the police report. She didn't get the completed police investigative report until the day before she announced her charges, meaning her mind had to have been made up. She did no consultation with the police investigators. There had to have been many, many questions. Just her own charging documents raised many questions.
All right, and that was a former assistant state's attorney in Baltimore, and talking about the current state's attorney in Baltimore, rejoined on the panel by Jane Velez-Mitchell and Noelle Nikpour. And let me start with you because of your legal, of course, background here, Jane. And I mean, now we find out that, you know, the state's prosecutor made a big deal saying the knife wasn't illegal, false imprisonment, 2 cops charged with false imprisonment, they should never have been arrested. And now one cop is suing, gone to court, say, let's all see this knife. This knife is illegal in Baltimore. I mean, if she made that mistake, what other mistakes did this woman make?
And here you have 2 law enforcement agencies essentially disagreeing about whether this knife is legal or not. So the Baltimore City says it's not legal, it was legal, and then the other said it wasn't legal. So you're asking police to make a perfect decision when their lives are on the line and then arresting and charging them because they may not have made the decision you agree with. I think people have lost sight of a couple of factors here. One, that police officers aren't just walking around the street aimlessly. They are there to find criminals, to catch criminals before they commit crimes, to investigate crimes, and to make arrests. So you're really armchair quarterbacking their decisions from the comfort of your own home. It's absolutely unfair. And I have to say one other thing. They have turned this, the media, into this racial incident, which of course drummed up a lot of protests that ended violently, when indeed 3 of the 6 police officers arrested are African American. So let's take a step back before we do hashtag riots for ratings every single time on these issues and look at what's really underneath it, because to call everything a racial incident doesn't help anybody, especially the people in that community.
I think the media has been reprehensible right from Ferguson on down, and they're out there when there are 10 people in the street and say, oh, let's look at what they're doing now. What block are they on now? Where are they going now? They're just hoping for trouble. Noelle, I mean, this woman, though, I mean, you know, when she said, this is your time, this is our time, and then I find out that that was her campaign slogan that she ran on and won this position, and Alan Dershowitz said that at the very least this is going to play into a change of venue.
You know, this did nothing but further divide us, and it's very, very sad that we have incidents going on. And what Jane said earlier was just a great point. This was not a white police person, you know, with another case of wrongful death for a black person. This was the least racially motivated incident of anything that I've ever seen. I mean, you actually had black people on the law enforcement team. This was not even fair, and to constitute the rioting for this and the movement behind it there's so much anger. I really, really hope that we learn from this incident that we need to really wrap it up.
All right, I want to skip to cut 109. I want you to hear what Bill Clinton had to say today about, well, you watch.
People complain about the Global Fund. Why it's fine to give people to Global Fund and not to give it to Clinton Foundation? What is the problem?
I just work here. I don't know. There's one set of rules for politics in America and another set for real life, and you just have to learn to do it.
All right. You know, he just works there. He doesn't know. On NBC the other day, he defended his $500,000 speeches, which he says he'll keep on giving and taking the money. Why? Because he has to pay the bills, which is worse than Hillary saying we were flat broke. These people just don't get it. And I really think, Noelle, I really think, we got 30 seconds each for you. I really think the media, you know, they're not out to protect them as much as they used to be. I think they're sick of them to a great extent.
You know, on the Clintons, I've got to say one thing. I'm from Arkansas, and everybody, the nation, we're all used to the Clintons and their shenanigans and their scandals. We really kind of hold Bill and Hillary Clinton to a lower standard. I mean, what's one more scandal behind their belt? We're really used to them not being accountable.
Jane?
Listen, what they should have done is come out and talked about the good work that the Clinton Foundation does. And from what I've been researching, they've literally helped hundreds of thousands, millions of people in hundreds of different countries. They've prevented starvation. They've encouraged jobs. They've fought obesity in the United States. Why aren't they defending themselves? Why aren't they coming out and saying, hey,
with 10% of the money that they take in as a charity, which is a pathetically low percentage. To be continued. Jane Velez-Mitchell and Noelle Nikpour, don't go away. Of course, we're not. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, what I need to tell you folks is that, as you well know, we have restarted the call-in segment here on the Steve Malzberg Show, and if you want to participate in that, you need to reach out to us in advance. We just can't say, okay, time to call in, and you call in. We need to contact you, but you need to contact us first. So send me an email to callsteve@newsmax.com, Call Steve at Newsmax.com. Tell us how we could reach you, and we'll try to set the whole thing up. Now, don't go away.